Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great time here for Neon Shadows. Before we get started, I have a little quick thing to say that I forgot to do last time. We are sponsored by Grinding Co. Coffee, a Black and LGBTQ plus coffee company. Use the link in chat or the code Gunmetal Blues, that is blues with an S, to get 10% off. We also have merch. You can find those links in chat or by going to the Nerds with Dice on Twitter. Nerds W Dice on Twitter. Apologies. Now then, I am, of course, the eponymous Grim. I am going to be the one who is kind of acting as the main player for Neon Shadows, which is an inherently GM-less game. I am joined by these wonderful people who are about to introduce themselves, and then we're going to hop right back into the action. So if we want to, as same last time, before going off of the card table order, Skylar, if you want to start for me.
Hi, I'm Skylar. You can find me on Twitter at HRT_beats. I'm an illustrator and I also do tabletop game design. You can play my games Godling and Cabinet of Curiosities for free at Skylar K. Swift on itch.io.
Hi, I'm Erin. I am Vale's Edge Games on pretty much every social media. I'm a game designer, layout designer, actual play performer, and so you can find me basically anywhere as Vale's Edge Games.
Perfect. Porna.
Hi, my name is Purna. You can find me on the Bird app and the Skies app and on Itch as Purna Makes Things. I am a TTRPG game designer and I also do voice acting and project management. Um, and yeah, that's me. That's where you can find me on the internet.
Ivan.
Hello, my name is Ivan. You can find me at Elisenal Arts on Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm a freelance illustrator, digital illustrator as well. Um, I also this is my first one of my first ventures into the TTRPG space. Hopefully, there's gonna be more to come. But yeah, that's me.
And we hope to see more of you as well because you've been fantastic so far. Real quick, just plugging the Kickstarter for this game. Neon Shadows Kickstarter is going on through the end of the month. We are almost at the halfway point. I am looking forward to hopefully kicking that off. Just getting over there. Now then, so as a quick recap, to kind of get us up to speed, our group of individuals, we have abducted a man, uh, threatened to torture him for the location of stolen blueprints to weapons he should have destroyed. William Gold then decapitated the man in cold blood, citing that the death was for his sins against the city. Afterwards, everyone except for William broke into the man's house, rifled through his grandfather's ashes to find the missing key, and are now on their way to the train terminal. With that group, what are you guys doing?
Well, we are on our way to the train terminal, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. I would assume we probably don't want to be seen if possible. I mean, it's not going to look super suspicious like we have the key to everything, but you know, always good to be safe.
And just to clarify, the train terminal is in the same level that we currently are?
So because of how the deviation of the city, each level of the city has its own terminal because there's a train that goes all the way from the Sun Courts up at the head of the valley where the river starts flowing down, all the way down to the Rust Rivers where the water is dyed with aether.
Okay. So we should probably make our way to the train terminal that's on this level to ask about where this particular
Locker?
storage unit is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we should ask about it. Does the key have a number on it or anything like that?
It's a great question. Does the key have a number on it, Aaron? Is there any
Um,
sort of signifier? What do you
I'm
think
gonna
the
s-
signifier looks like?
I'm gonna say it does have a number on a little tag, but it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily specify like which station, like which terminal it's at.
Mm.
Okay, so you guys don't know if it's in the Sun Courts, the Moonlights, Fortress Alley, Cloud Tops. You just know that it's at one of the terminals.
I mean, I assumed Cloud Tops station, but I guess we could check there first.
That's up to you guys. Remember, I don't have plans for this. This is entirely the story that we're all building together while we're building it. So, if you guys have different opinions on how it should play out, you're more than welcome to either play cards for it or just talk and discuss.
We only have like 4 or 5 options, and I just think like as soon as we start asking questions, someone else will start asking questions like, why do you have a key that you don't know what locker it goes to?
Why don't you know where your locker is? What's in the locker that's so important? Whose locker is that? All questions we
Yeah.
would like to avoid.
Yeah, but it could also be like, we are recently bereaved as the bereaved person we decapitated, and we have the key to their locker. But I take your point, but I think that we can also just go in and pretend we want a locker, ask to see the lockers, and then see which way the numbers are going. If the numbers that we are looking for are close by, then it's here. If not, then we can go upward.
I think the lockers are public access.
I think
Or at
they
least
might
ish.
have there might be a locker 25 probably in like I don't think they stop
It's not a
at the end of
continuous.
one
You don't think there are
station
continuous
and
numbers? Okay. Yeah, fair. Sure. Maybe.
So I have a thought about that. It could be that like most of the lockers are not really guarded, but there could be special lockers that are.
Mm-hmm.
The higher
Yeah.
security lockers.
Gonna have to go. I mean, I guess this is probably something that would be in like a decently high security locker, right?
But that also means that would mean the whenever he's dropping off these illegal things that he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be more important to him, the security of the locker or the deniability of a guard not seeing him every time he wants to go and put something in or out of the locker?
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't want to be seen. It's probably nondescript.
Yeah, and I feel like he would. I think he would want the secret hiding place more than because the more security you ask for, the more attention you draw to yourself, especially in such an unequal society. So
I guess
we're going to the cloud station first, or are we going to this one first?
That seems the logical next step to check. And then, if we strike out there, we should probably check one up.
Yeah.
we want to
Sounds
go up or down? Where do you think he'd hide it?
That's a good question.
I mean, it'd be really interesting if he, just to be super secure, he put it in like the lower place where no one would think that he would put the what was it, the blueprints is what we're looking for, right?
Looking for schematics.
The schematics. Yeah. So
I
maybe
think
it's
it's a
like
great idea.
in the Rust Rivers train station.
I think it's a great idea. And so one of the great things we can always do is once you guys can decide where it is you're going, we can just cut to the action and we can, allude back to the fact that you guys had to check, the cloud tops before deciding to come down. We don't have to go through you guys checking the cloud tops if we're talking about not going to the cloud tops. Excuse me. So, but no, I think that's a great idea, Ivan. So, and I could see that being the kind of way that he would think about it too. No one would expect me, someone who tries to keep acting like I'm from a higher district, to go down and put them there. Plus, flip side, if he was trying to sell them to people, it'd just be easier to sell them there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah. So I guess we're saying that we, determine it's not the Cloud Top station and head to Rust Rivers.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Would it be Rust Rivers or Forger's Alley, maybe?
Would he go all the way down to Rust Rivers, or would he just go down to Forger's Alley? That's a good question.
Yeah. I feel like
I mean-
Forger's Alley is probably the place you'd want to sell it if, that was the plan.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense because that's probably what is giving rise to the rumors. I mean, this kind of thing is probably what is giving rise to the rumors where I am from, Forger's Alley, that the weapon blueprints are not being destroyed like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe he's
Yeah.
already moved a few down there.
Yeah. If so, do you think that Jade has a contact in the train station in the Forger's Alley?
I'm gonna say Jade doesn't really get out much unless Mox drags her somewhere.
With that
I
said,
think that Mox
might.
probably has contacts in the sense of like other rail riders up and down in the different that frequent the different stations. So probably not someone who works in the Forger's Alley station, but someone who knows their way around the Forger's Alley station.
So, Aaron, tell us about Mox's contact.
Mox's contact is I think unlike Mox, who came down from the Sun Courts, I think that Mox's contact took the train up from the Rust Rivers.
Okay.
And she lives, and I am blanking on all names, so any idea of a name would be appreciated.
Of a
How
place or a
about
person?
A person.
Charlotte.
Okay, so Charlotte lives sort of in one of the sort of back areas, basically sort of inside the walls in the Forger's Alley station. Very sort of like, the movie Hugo, or the book. It's very much that. That, yes, I'm a big Brian Selznick fan. But yeah, it's very much like she is like an urchin living inside the walls and knows her way around that station. Yeah, so I think we just if we meet up with Shah, we can just go and she'll help us get to the locker we're looking for without raising much attention.
Nice. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
since William is not still with you guys and kind of filling that role of lead player, I'm happy to take the role of Charlotte. But before I do, I want to offer it to anyone else at the table who wants to be a precocious streetwise. I'm assuming that Charlotte's a little bit younger than Mox.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'm guessing in the 13 to 15 range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sort of, however old like Oliver is supposed to be, or the
Right.
Artful Dodger.
The Artful Dodger. I'm getting very Artful Dodger vibes from Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if anyone else wants to be Charlotte, I'm leaving it on the table. If not, I am happy to take the role. No?
By all
not.
means, please play a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
You know, as a white man, that is my duty to know how to do this better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is, of course. Anyways, so
So when we all get off the train, Mox just like cups her hand and does a little like a bird noise, something like a bird whistle, that is sort of a signal between them.
okay. There is a very distinct knocking pattern that is done in response that to people who aren't listening for it would just think it's the pipes and bits of Forger's Alley's rail station rattling. But to Mox, it's rail code. It is, the way that people who ride the rails are able to speak to each other on the train without alerting the guards. And it's Charlotte who starts with basically the identifier, and then she tells you to meet her at the entrance by Mechanical Mile.
All right.
So the rest of you,
go
So
there.
so what the rest of you would see is just Mox goes, does a little bird call, and then just the pipes rattle, and Mox says, "We're going this way."
Mm-hmm. All right.
And go ahead.
Oh, are we all going? Or like how big of a group do we really want to take here, you know?
I mean, I guess like because this is kind of Jade's like home base, I would say that and one of the few places that Jade would probably go out is Mechanics Mile to get stuff. So I think she would just be like, let's just wait by this like kind of side of the road like
Mm-hmm.
coffee tea stall, and then like we stop to kind of as if we're taking a work break, and which is like close enough to the entrance to Mechanics Mile so that if Mox needs us, we're nearby, but we're not like.
Yeah, you run into any trouble, you give us the help whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
All right.
which your friend will know what that is. We
Right.
might not, but still.
I know the help whistle. Don't even worry about it. I don't know all the whistles, but I know the help whistle.
So the coffee and tea stand that Jade takes you guys to is operated by this. She's about 4.5 feet tall, big, bushy white mustache. Perfectly kept big bushy white mustache. And he actually has a contraption that he has strapped to his back that actually brews the different drinks. And if you pay him the coin, he'll pop out a cup and he'll actually hold it beneath the different dispensers and pour your drinks for you.
Hell yeah.
And he sees Jade walk up, and he already pulls out and he pulls Jade's favorite tea blend, pulls it out, and already has it up and waiting for Jade as she approaches.
Jade gratefully grabs it and, like, even though I'm assuming it's not actually that cold, kind of cups her hands around it because that's just what you do,
It
and
is warm enough.
nods to the guy.
Right. It is warm enough to be soothing, but not hot enough to be uncomfortable in this slightly warm day.
Yeah, and sort of just Jade sort of gestures with her head to the other two and says, "These are my friends." Well,
You
I
have
say
friends, Jada.
I say
You have friends? Oh, friends of Jada, of course. Here, drink. He says as he starts pulling out different samples of teas to give you guys.
And Jade looks very uncomfortable as she says, "Yeah, we go way back." Anyway, they like tea, right? Friends of old.
Yeah.
Could I get like 2 to 4 sugar cubes, please?
He tips his head forward, and there's a little flap that opens up, and it dispenses 2 sugar cubes.
Oh, I love this guy. Oh, that's delightful, sir. Thank you.
Of
Amazing.
course. Thank you. I built it myself.
So cool.
While
Not
everyone's
really.
having this fun with tea, Mox, you are inside the terminal still, and you turn where you know to turn, and their big, bushy, red hair pulled up with a bandana in a obviously stolen Suncourt style long coat, sleeves rolled up way too far, and a walking stick that's like size for someone like my size, about 6'1". This girl is not 6'1", so it is almost like she's like leaning up like this up on it.
It's her wizard staff.
It is her wizard staff.
Hey, so, how's it going?
It's going, Moxie. You have my money?
Look, so I'm on a big job right now, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And look, okay, you see the
What had happened?
and
Tell me what had happened, Moxie. Tell me what had happened one more time.
so
What do you need, Moxie?
I need information on a specific locker here.
That's all you need from me. You just need which locker?
And I think that Mox
Locker
has
25.
detached the number tag from the key, is not giving Charlotte the key itself, but is handing over the number tag.
There's 3 25s in this place. Which 25 am I going to?
I don't know.
The security 25, easy access 25. Work with me, Moxie.
Okay, so you see
As
a
you're
lot of
being
stuff
berated
here.
by this 13-year-old, 15-year-old girl.
Yeah. Look, have you seen? Let me see if I can describe him. Well, he would have had a head back then, but
Moxie, what do you mean he would have had a head?
And she gives like a physical description of the guy that whose locker it was, and it's like, have you ever seen him go into any lockers? It would have been every it would have been regular, because it would have been like he's dropping stuff off there or picking it up, but regular like.
Yeah, I think I know the guy. You see her taking the cane, shifting it, and using it to scratch right underneath her bandana. I think I know the one you're looking for. Is there anything valuable in this locker, Moxie?
Not if you don't know what to do with it.
You saying I don't know what to do with things, Moxie?
I'm saying I do know what to do with this. And, well, I don't know what to do with it, but I got people who know what to do better with it. And she goes over to the window and like leans out the window and points down the street toward the T
T-Man?
the T man, and it's like, you see those three people sitting there all real obvious like?
You mean the three next to Mr. Daji?
Yeah, they're my crew.
Moxie, you need a better crew.
We're just like holding up newspapers, the three of us, like,
Yeah.
That's right.
Peeking
No
in.
one knows that we're here.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Moxie, your
Masters of our
standards have
craft.
slipped.
Well, I
You
didn't,
taught me how to ride the rails. What happened to you?
because I do the stuff for the riding. They're there for the selling and some other stuff too. And there's another guy also who is much more impressive.
I hope so, I hope so, Moxie. I think I know the locker this way. She leads you down and brings you eventually to a bank of lockers. I think that the lockers here are done in 25 locker sections. So it's 5 across, 5 down, and they're just sporadically, regularly, but still sporadically popped around. She brings you over to the section that has 25 in it. And she motions with her hand, lock of 25. Now, she says as she slips and puts herself between you and lock of 25. About my payment, Moxie.
Well, I don't got it just yet, but if I'm gonna get it,
I think that you might have to play a card to try and get around.
okay. Yeah, I am going to.
1, 2, 3.
Haha.
Good job. So again, for everyone who's following around at home and cannot currently see the play table, there are no dice in Neon Shadows. We are playing with a standard deck of playing cards. That is a kind of like the game of war mixed with a little bit of like spades, where in suit matters for that kind of stuff. The NPCs play off of the top of the deck, which Charlotte played an 8, whereas Aaron played a 9 for Moxie. So, playing the 9, good job. Moxie takes the cake. And what is your emotional say to Charlotte to get them to agree to move out of the way and let you do this?
I think it's just like, look, this is a really big job. I promise this one's our big break. And after we're done with this one, I'll have the money to pay you back easy. And we've been on some hard times lately, and you've always been really nice with giving me extra time.
Because I like you, Moxie. You got a week. Give me my money. Give me my money. She says as she picks up and just like, kind of like, the monk in all of the artwork with it, where they're like holding their bow staff across their shoulders. She does this with surprising ease with her walking stick. As she just starts walking away. 1 week, Moxie. You have 1 week.
Won't need a week, Sha. I mean, I'll take it though.
You were just shaken down by a 13-year-old child.
Happens to the best of us. Don't worry.
Right.
Yeah.
and yeah, she will try. She will see if this is the right lock, which she doesn't even know yet.
Yeah.
So I think that especially after, well, you actually do know because you still have narrative control. So
Oh,
is it the
yeah.
right knock? Is it the right right locker? You can say no if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be a little more interesting if I say no.
Okay, okay. So can I play off of that no?
And
I think that you turn the key, the door opens, but there's a lock within the locker. He didn't
is
give
it
us
like
both of the all of the information before Gold took his head off. There's a second key.
is it like embedded in the locker, or is there
Yeah.
like a lock
This-
box?
I think that, like there's a lockbox that has been welded into the locker. So there's a second key now that you guys have no way of knowing because Gold took the dude's head off.
Right.
Because I think that is the kind of thing that Charles would have done, is give us half the information. That way, if we did screw him over, he'd get the last laugh.
All right. Is there I think that Mox is just gonna give it a couple tugs like surreptitiously to see like, can I get this out of the locker?
Narratively, and I'm putting this to the table. I think narratively is more interesting if you guys have to go back to Gold at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this to the table because this entire game is a discussion. I'm leaving this to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Mox is able to wiggle out, find a loose spot in the welding and pop it? Do you guys think you might be able to find some tools and pop it out, or do you think you all need to go back and get Gold?
I'm gonna suggest that, like, whether or not it works, that Jade would probably want to try and get into it, because what's the point of
Sure.
being
Yeah.
from Forger's Alley otherwise?
Sure, 100%. So, are you willing to play a card for it? Because playing a card is always inviting the chance of risk through a spade card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against
So-
Jade doing it.
So, it says that I have the ability to draw a card when you're talking about something you know, and I know mechanical things.
Right.
So
Draw a card.
potentially, okay.
So again, we leave this. Don't click it. Draw it. Don't.
Oh,
Don't click
sorry,
the cards, draw
sorry,
your
sorry.
cards. You're fine. You're fine.
Whoops.
Okay, everyone. We now know that the 5 of spades is somewhere in play. Be warned. Anyways, so 100%. I think that if you want to go ahead and play against the deck, because the environment, like NPCs, are played off the top of the deck,
Mhm.
unless there's someone who is manipulating the environment who is also a player character as their player character. So does anyone else want to play off the top of the deck to represent the locker? Because I played off of the last one to represent Charlotte.
I can play off the top of the deck to represent the locker.
Perfect. And that makes sense because Mox was the one who found the issue. So go ahead and Porna, pull your card.
From
Your hand.
The-
From your hand.
I this one next to me is the one I drew from the deck.
Yeah.
And go ahead and drop your card underneath your play seat.
Okay. But also, so I would just like to point out that I don't, like, I have only the one card in my hand right now.
You should have had 5 cards in your hand.
I
And then
know.
you should have just drawn one more.
Yeah. Which is what was confusing.
All right, we're one card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take those.
Okay.
Oh, it's showing you disconnected for some reason. That's why.
Oh. Okay.
So go ahead and play a card.
Okay.
And just again, a quick
Mhm.
rundown again. Hearts are for emotional plays. Diamonds are for logical plays. Clubs are for what we are calling presence because it's more than just being physical. It's more like the physicality and the expression of your will.
Okay. And I should put it face down next to me?
Face down right next to you, and then on the count of 3, you both will flip over your cards. And it'll be on 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, easy. So it's a tie for you because remember, this isn't saying that you're going to do it. You now have narrative control. You can do it
Right.
all the way. You can do it part of the way. It's whatever you think narratively is going to fit best in this moment.
Okay. Because apparently I am embodying my character and I want to get a look at the blueprints, I want to say that Jade essentially gives Mox a look like, how have you remained alive? Because remember, Jade and Jade, Melly, and Denise were like, we were being super subtle and cool, like actual spies. So they have no idea that they were made. Yeah. So so it's just like, ugh. And then so goes, let me try something, and then takes out some like tools that once upon a time probably had an actual proper form, but now just look like shivs, kind of.
They're thin
And
bits of
then
metal.
yeah, the thin bits of metal. And so Jade kind of fiddles with the lock, basically initially trying to pick it, and then when that doesn't work, just kind of undoing the mechanism that allows the lock to remain
Locked.
a lock.
Right.
So just the lock just goes boom and falls into its component parts. And then Jade, because apparently Mox is rubbing off on her, pulls the lockpicks to her mouth and goes, done. Here you go. Mox, be my guest.
All right. And
So,
Mox
Porna,
is gonna.
just so you know, you have narrative control for right now still.
Oh, okay.
So if you think something fun or interesting can happen, you don't have to ask people. You kind of have the ability to play with the narrative. Maybe the blueprints aren't in there. Maybe the blueprints are encrypted. There are things that you can do when it comes to that you don't have to ask for permission for right now.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. So Jade steps aside and lets Mox do the honors of exploring the lockbox. Sorry, was my audio like
No,
cutting
you're
out?
good, Mock.
Okay.
Aaron.
Okay.
I think. Sorry, can you repeat that? You cut
Yes,
out a
sorry.
little bit for me.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I was just saying that Jade steps aside and basically lets Mox explore the lockbox, or anybody
Okay.
else who wants to.
Mox is a little bit like is not used to letting having someone let her go for the loot first, and so is going to sort of like step just a little bit and from an arm's length uh open the lockbox and then cringe a little bit and because so what is inside, Porna?
So as I think as the the lockbox kind of creaks open, um, everyone is kind of so tense, like, because I guess this is one of our first gigs working together. And so that, like, Jade drops one of the tools, and so you hear the clink, and then like everybody goes, ah, but nothing happens. And then so I think inside the lockbox there's like a
Another
sheaf of
lockbox.
papers. No. It's an escape room from hell. No, it's a sheaf of papers, and of various different textures. So I think there's like buttery, almost see-through parchmenty things that look older. There's with like just a lot of scribbles that are partially faded. There's newer stuff that's on better, more expensive, thicker paper. There's with like there are, I think, a couple of promissory notes with like the insignia of the Sun Courts on stamped on it. There's some there's like a tiny little box that looks like it definitely probably had sentimental value because it doesn't look like actually valuable. But when you like, if as your hand brushes it, it like rattles as if there's like something inside it. I'm gonna say that you probably, I don't actually know. So with narrative control, can you say like what the other characters do or just what's around them?
Just what's around them. So
Right,
so
okay.
with narrative control, you have access to the environment, you have
Mhm.
access to NPCs. A guard can come down. Um,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. That stuff is all within your control at this time.
Okay. So I think like maybe a guard calls out to be like, because when we all went, ah, like a guard goes, is everything okay? And then we're all the opposite of nonchalant. We're socialant, but we're
Right.
all just like letting it happen. Like, yep, it's fine. Hmm.
If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask.
We just
Cool.
thought we saw a really big rat. That's all that happened.
You're
Yeah.
going to. You're going to. It's a train station.
Well, you should
Yeah.
do something about the.
And you
Rat.
see him just like, he rolls his eyes. He turns on fucking cloud toppers. We're walking away.
Yeah. So these are the things that were inside the locker. I'm gonna say that Jada's probably stepped back, like, because she like dropped to pick up her tools and hide them when the guard came. So Mox is definitely closest to the locker, and Melly and Denise can decide like how close they are behind Mox. But I would say Jade is like sort of behind where the door to the locker opened, so has less direct access.
Yeah, I think Millie was probably like posted up a couple lockers away, like I maybe playing like a cup and ball, just guarding but trying to look
Casual.
Where did Melly pull the cup and ball from? That's my question.
Their cargo pants. They got all kinds of stuff in there. They got a couple Game Boys, cup and ball, some gum.
Wearing
We're
my
really good.
propeller beanie and
Right.
We
Oh,
were
yeah.
we were fully stocked for a stakeout. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, they had like some, Nature's Valley bars in one of the pockets. Those are a crumbly mess by now, but they got them.
Like, so long as they're in the foil, they're not a mess till you open them.
Mm-hmm.
it's
So real.
just granola at this point.
Right.
Free
Look,
granola.
it's right. Granola's good for
One
you.
of the oat ones too, so it's not even that great.
It's just the dried honey oat.
Yeah. And Denise, where are you standing?
I think that Denise was also like a little bit away from the people opening the locker. I think she was also like trying to keep watch and going trying to get ready to maybe make some distraction if needed be. Uh but she was definitely keeping an eye on the surroundings, and it was also very how do I put this, like tense about whatever was inside. Like she was hoping that maybe it was gonna explode or something. Like
Which is why, I mean, not this was not a show of generosity, Mox, that Jade stepped back and was like,
You
after
were
Oh,
you.
for
you were
sure.
right.
Yeah.
Mox acknowledges that too. Like, so Mox is rifling through the stuff, and I think she's just like, so, does anyone know what any of this means, or should we take it back to Gold and see which of this stuff is valuable?
I think we should probably take everything just in case. I don't think we want to leave anything in there. Uh,
Sorry.
Let's do it. So Jade takes out like one of those shopping bags, equivalent of the shopping bags that fold into a tiny thing, from like her pocket, and just like goes, okay, let's put it in here.
Perfect. So you guys, go ahead.
One thing I was wondering, so he's selling these to people, right? Do we know who and if they're gonna be looking for him?
No.
I don't think we know.
We'll have to
Well-
keep an eye out, probably.
Well, since the courts demand that they be the blueprints should be destroyed, and in a shocking twist of events, not everyone wants to listen to the courts, then I think
Heresy.
that, I think that it's probably the case that there is enough people in, well, certainly in Forger's Alley, who have the skills to build the weapon that the blueprint shows. So even if they're not the people planning whatever it is that's being planned, I'm pretty sure we can find out in Forger's Alley if anyone's building something based on the blueprints, because these kind of blueprints also are going to probably involve some expensive load of material, and that kind of stuff gets talked about.
Yeah,
I
because
didn't mean, can we shut him down? I meant, are we gonna be in trouble for stealing these?
Well, as I understand, we're making them public access, so
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can really be mad about that.
yeah, yeah,
You can be
because
mad if you wanted to be the only one with a weapon.
That's true.
Mm.
But now you aren't the only one with a weapon.
How mad can you safely be at that point?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Blow me up with a weapon you don't have exclusive access to?
This is a great point, Mel. But also, I think the blueprints also tell us how to disarm a weapon, even as complicated as it might be. So there's this group called the ironically Sunkissed, and they help people get into the Sun Courts from Forger's Alley. And I think they might know something about this. So we should definitely take these to Gold and see what on earth he thinks. But that could be another group that we could talk to see. Again, I'm not saying we should shut it down. I'm not saying we shouldn't shut it down. I just want to not have my house be blown up by whatever weapon is going to be built.
it's probably good to really carefully think about who we want to give weapon blueprints to, if anybody, and all that, given the nature of exploding weapons.
Yeah. The other thing is, because Gold said he wants me to make copies of it. So
Yeah,
it's
gonna
going to be.
so it would be sort of everybody at that point. Which, I mean, I guess if somebody's gonna have a
So-
weapon, it might as well.
One thing to keep in mind societally, the only people that have weapons outside of like very rudimentary hunting rifles and that kind of stuff are the guards and individuals of the Sun Courts
Mm.
and people who are allowed by the Sun Courts to have those weapons.
Hmm.
We should make a bunch of weapons here, though, for sure.
Right.
I think we should loop Gold in on this.
Definitely.
Want to
So-
go
I think-
back up?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not really looking forward to a Great War Part 2. So I don't know. We're going to see. But
More of like a revolution.
Viva la Revolution.
We're gonna have to, if we want to really change things in this city, we're probably gonna have to make a bunch of weapons and blow up the walls of the Sun Court and stuff.
sure,
Probably
sure.
blow up my parents'
Great
house.
plan.
I better get all my Pokemon cards out of there before that happens.
Smart. Is it in a locker? Because we're good at those.
Well, it's in a shoebox under my bed. But so like almost as secure. But I can probably get them. Thank you for the offer, though.
Oh,
Sure.
Melly, we threw those away already. You were gone and we turned you into a gym.
No,
No.
no.
Rude.
A gym and a sewing room. Oh man, and now that shoebox is full of needles and thread.
No
Cards in the
cards.
garbage. They don't
Gone.
understand their resale value. This is so
Been gone.
fucking sad.
Mm.
This
It's
is why I
just
hate
sad
about
on
the
so
house.
many
This is why I hate
levels.
about the house.
Well, now I have nothing to keep me from blowing up the Sun Courts.
So I think that, and so when I'm going to be taking control back as the lead player for as we continue on from this scene. Point of reference for moving forward, that narrative control lasts until the end of the scene. Moving forward from there, it goes back to the table, or in our instance, the lead player. So, as you guys make your way back up, you're able to go very smoothly. You're just four people with a bag full of papers. It happens. You guys make your way back to the club, which is back into a very clean, organized manner. Gold comes whistling out from the back room with 4 plates full of piping hot, warm food, fresh to refresh you guys from your journeys. As he places it all down before you guys, well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? I'm assuming you found the blueprints. As he puts the food down for all of you,
Wow, we got 'em.
smiling widely.
I just want to briefly say that I think that Jade would have wrapped the papers in like the newspaper we were holding up to be super spies, just to like not be walking around with expensive looking
Really be
paper.
super spies. Really be super. I like it. Yep.
So Jade sits down in front of a bowl of hot food and goes, This isn't your today's special isn't like
Jade, what are you?
stewed
What are you accused? No,
stewed villain head, is it?
I would
I don't
never feed
think-
you. I would never feed you Charles stew.
Yeah,
to
I
know.
don't.
That is
I've known Gold for a hot minute, and I don't think he leans into that kind of thing, you know.
that's not. I'm sorry if what was the violence too much for you? Are you okay?
I just want to, like
You don't have to be that active of a part of what we're doing if you don't feel comfortable with doing that. Again, if you have the blueprints, all you really need to do is just copy the blueprints, and if you want that to be your only connection, that's all you have to be. I don't. Again, I'm on your guys' side. I don't want any of you to do things you don't feel comfortable doing, but I want you guys to understand the reality of what we're trying to do. I don't. Again, and I got caught up in the theatrics. I apologize for that. You're correct. I shouldn't be hiding those kinds of actions behind framework of what I said. You were entirely correct with that one, Jay, and I apologize for getting caught up in the theatrics and doing that. It was a cool line, though. You have to admit, it was a cool line.
Yeah.
See, Denise gets it.
Mox
Denise-
is looking. Oh, sorry.
No,
You
I
go.
was just going to say, Denise sees human bodies in various conditions all the time. I see machines. So Jade is a little bit concerned. Mox, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mox is just like looking through the curtains, trying to see if anyone followed us, and is just
See?
saying, "So, if we're not eating them, how did you get rid of the body?
Do you really want to know the answer to that question?
If you can just tell me it's not in the house anymore, then I'll be fine with it."
It's not in the district anymore. Are you ridiculous? It's not even in the district now.
All right. I don't need to know more than that.
Max,
Jade.
stop looking out the window. You're gonna make people suspicious. Come eat your food. Straight dad voice.
Jade is playing with her food a little bit and looks up at Gold and says, "What worries me isn't that you chopped the head off the guy. I mean, he seemed like if he didn't entirely deserve it yet, then then he probably would have done something to deserve it very soon. But what worries me is that we have these blueprints are probably, if they're being used to figure out how best to disarm the Sun Courts and the guards, sure. Yeah, I see the point. But if they're being used to just create more explosions, there is no city officials coming to plan the rebuilding of Forger's Alley if my house gets blown up. And I'm not really looking to help a bunch of people who haven't thought about the consequences harm the livelihoods of a bunch of people who don't know what to do.
Gold gives Jada. It's a hard look, but it's not a look of anger at her. Lass, I think you misunderstand what I've been through. I would never force an innocent to take up arms. My plan is not to have the city bombed to smithereens. I made it through the last war despite the war's best efforts. I'm not going to try and push innocent people back into that. But by that same token, there needs to be change. And while disarming the Sun Courts is a big part of that, there needs to be a representation of power across the districts. The unanswered threat of the Sun Court and its officials being the only ones with sufficient weaponry to maintain order allows them to be tyrants. My goal is not to have anyone's homes destroyed. I can't promise that some homes won't be. I'm not going to lie to you. But I will do my best to make sure that any violence that happens is far away from residential areas, and the violence is predominantly focused on the institutions themselves. That is all I can promise you. Are you willing to trust me on that?
I think Jade would like give a very, very slight nod and just look at her food.
I don't want more violence. The city has had enough violence for 10 times as many years as the war lasted. But I need there to be an end to the violences being perpetrated against every tier of the city that doesn't begin in the fucking Sun Courts. Anyone else have any concerns? Now's the time to air them. Because where we go from here, things are going to get real hot real fast.
I like
Yes, Moxie.
Melly's idea about blowing up the walls.
Oh, that's part of the idea. That's part of it.
Okay.
The division of the districts has entirely been a part of the issue. There's less and less access the further into the valley you go. It is hard. It is easy to go from the Rust Courts to Forger's Alley. It is harder to go from the Forger's Alley to the Cloud Tops. From the Cloud Tops to the Moonlights is possible. It is impossible for someone to get from the Rust Rivers to the Sun Courts. They will not let you through.
That's where I come in. I feel like if we can maybe use some of these schematics, make some explosives, we got somebody here who can get all the way through to every wall.
That's a lot to do by yourself. Are you sure you want to do that?
I mean, it's good to have help, but somebody's got to do it.
I don't want any of you to He looks at all of you. I will be the one to press the button. There will be fallout. There will be consequences to what happens. None of you need to carry that kind of weight. I will be the one to push the button.
I feel like in all of our different ways, we are already carrying the weight the of what it's like to live in the society that we live in right now. So I think that uh things were gonna get bad anyway, whether we enacted this plan that we are creating right now. Uh, I'm more than anyone. I'm aware of the losses that may await all of the districts in the city when the time comes. But I believe it's something that it has to happen for things in order for things to potentially get better eventually.
Yeah.
So I really want to push the button.
Yeah,
Do you want to push? Go ahead.
Sorry. Can Moxie and I push like a couple buttons? Maybe.
We'll talk about it. Just tired dad voice. Anyways, so I think that as Gold, just so you know, as you guys eat and talk and Gold works through the next parts of the plan with you, here's my question to you guys. There are a couple of ways that we can go from here. we can focus on distributing the blueprints. We can chase down rumors on things, like the Sunkissed, see what's going on with them. There's a lot of ways for us to do this. What sounds interesting to everybody?
Melly's really interested in the Sunkissed, I think.
Yeah, I think Jade is interested in what the Sunkissed are up to, but I think for more like wanting to protect her neighborhood kind of reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Melly's like, hey, you guys need anything? Heads cracked? Balls busted?
Right.
Unpaid intern?
Right.
Yeah, and like about these Sunkiss people, like what do we know about them? Like what's like are they part of the people that are dealing in these blueprints? Are they making weapons? Are they against the Sun Courts in any way?
They're like
So,
getting people through from the Rust Rivers and like other sort of
Oh, got it.
debilitatingly underserved parts of the city through to the Sun Courts where there's like stuff.
so do you think that there might be a little bit of a more militant faction of the Sunkissed? There might be, or militant's the wrong word, a little bit more revolutionary faction of the Sunkissed.
I think because of the way, because they're part of, like, this is part of just hearsay, right? These are rumors about who they are. So I think that the Sunkissed started off as just like a citizens movement to like kind of uh, wrest power back and like get sort of equal representation kind of thing. But um, but then I think there is a militant faction, but it's not. They don't call themselves the Sunkissed. Um, I think they call themselves the like. I think they call themselves Icarus, and they are. Um, and I think they just don't want. They want people to keep thinking they're part of the Sunkissed and like thing, but essentially because they don't want attention being drawn to them, because I think they are growing more and more militant in their planning.
I think if we go find them, we might be able to find some allies.
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens I might have a lead on one of the members of Icarus. Gold says with a smile.
Oh,
Is it you?
really?
It's not me. It's not me.
Oh.
No, I am interesting. I'm not quite that interesting of an old man. Besides, things like Icarus require younger man's energy, or in this case, the younger woman's energy. Let me see if I can't put something together for a meeting with them, or at least with part of them. And I agree. I think that our next bet is seeing if I can't get a hold of Viviera and set up a meeting with some of the higher ups of Icarus. Because I think that they'd be very interested in uh, access to the blueprints. Again, the entire point of this is making sure that no one person has access to them. I'm not saying we sold them specifically to Icarus. I want to make sure that everyone from Forger's Alleys to the Rust Rivers knows and has the ability to create the means to defend themselves from tyranny and occupation from groups that would rather them not have power.
Jade asks if you want her to like start copying out the blueprints now before we meet with Icarus, or
Please,
the
actually,
deal?
that would be great. And that's not even something you have to play a card for because this is what Jade does.
Mm.
So, yeah, she's just able to knock out sets of the blueprints.
Before we go to meet with them, Jade is going to. So we're all just hanging out at like Gold's place before we head to while he tries to arrange for the meeting, or because Jade wanted to like stop by home and I don't know, get a bigger shiv.
I think there's probably enough time for if everyone kind of wants to give a quick little what they do in, let's say, the 12 to 20 the 20ish hour period it takes for Gold to set up this meeting. If everyone wants to give just a brief what do they do would be great. How do you prep for a meeting with the militant?
I think Melly goes home, gets out their coolest battle jacket, feeds and walks the dog. Gotta do that. And then probably like does a fresh wrap on their knuckles just in case. Can never be too careful.
I think Mox goes, and Mox is still worried that someone who was going to be sold these blueprints when they're not getting sold these blueprints is going to be looking for them. So she is going to sort of go out and have sort of her some of her team, like some people that she's ran with in the past, sort of just put out feelers if anyone is like looking for anything related to that. She's going to keep it vague, but just say like a couple keywords like, you know, blueprints or the Forger's Alley station, like a few things that if anyone comes asking around, that they should come to Mox and tell her.
Makes sense. So, that makes a lot of sense actually. Porna.
I think Jade would slip by her house and would like very visibly enter her house, like chat with some neighbors, whatever, talk to some people, and then would change into dull clothes, because fancy people make the mistake of wearing like jet black silken things that make them look like the night, but people who actually have to sneak around and not call attention to themselves get by on wearing drab, meld into the background kind of clothing. So she gets into some of that, picks up some contraptions that have no names but could probably do some damage if they were screwed into somebody, and and sort of puts on some gloves, some leather fingerless gloves, and some like goggles to kind of just puts goggles in her pack to protect from any, I don't know, flying shrapnel that might be around, and then sneaks out of her house through like a back alley kind of thing, goes back to the tea stall and kind of like asks the tea seller when there is a lull and it's no one's around, if he has heard rumblings about Icarus and what they're up to and what they're planning.
I think that Mr. Daji looks at you and, well, Jada, there have been, as there have always been, rumors of things happening in different parts of the city. I can't attest to the validity of some of these rumors, but suffice it to say, there are plans that might be in motion for change.
And Jade kind of gives him a look and goes, if you're planning to make some kind of grand gesture of noble sacrifice, you'll leave the tea I like in front of my house, right?
He is just like, I'm an old tea seller. I don't do grand gestures of sacrifice. I have tea to live for.
Sure. Jade like drains her glass and gives it back and goes, okay, well, have a calm, uneventful rest of your day, I guess. And goes away.
Denise.
I think that the way that she's preparing, because we're potentially gonna meet fancy people, right? Or not really. Okay.
Cool people, not fancy people. I think it's a better way of saying it.
Okay, then I think she's gonna prep partly by grabbing some of her clothes that are like a little bit more fancy but not extremely fancy. And
Right.
she's gonna definitely prepare her medical kit that she always has with her, because we don't know what's gonna happen at this meeting. We don't know if things are gonna potentially blow up. Uh and I think she also I like to think that she has, like, in every district, I mean, I think except the Sun Courts, but in every other district she has like a group of people that she like, probably senior people that she tends to, maybe homeless people that she tends to in every
Makes
district.
sense.
So I think that she, intending in going about her rounds of tending to those people, I think she's gonna try to ask around the rumors about the Sun Kissed and Icarus, to see if they have heard anything interesting about them.
I think that some of the rumors for what what Denise is able to find is mostly regards to Sunkist, not really Icarus. Icarus does a very good job of keeping themselves out of the limelight. Um, they if they do anything, they try to keep Icarus out of it, but they try to use Sunkist as much as possible. I think that some of the rumors that um, that Denise is able to pick up on is there are tunnels that lead from the cloud tops all the way to the sun courts if you know how to find them. Um, they were old construction tunnels back when the city was being built, and they had a very specific, kind of more delicate bits of machinery and aether tech that they didn't want to have out and exposed to the elements. And ever since the finalization of the city, they have been largely abandoned. They are mainly used by smugglers and given and in recent history, the Sunkist.
Got
I
it.
think that's one of the big rumors. The other big one, I think that she's able to pick up on is um, there is there's a growing unrest in the Rust Reverse, um, where those rumbles of Icarus kind of pick up a little bit more steam, and it's not about Icarus, but it's a lot of pro what Icarus is doing. It's a lot of taking the offensive to the Sun Courts. A lot of that, the Sun Courts are preventing us from being able to live better lives. We need to be able to take what we need to live better lives, if that's the case. And I think that's a pretty common sentiment, especially from the individuals who are not really in a position where they're there to do the risk, but they want someone else to be able to make the risk. Um, is kind of that sentiment of we need to be able to go and get this, with them being the ones that aren't kind of having that risk of being the ones to going and doing the getting. So how serious that rumor is kind of variable.
Yeah.
It's very easy if you're not the one risking things to say we need to go risk things. Um, you do hear, however, that at Daredevil's Cliff, someone has been tagging um, the symbol of the sun from the Sun Courts with a figure falling with broken wings.
Damn. All right.
And I think Gold is going to do most of his prep um, just quietly around where he's at. He sends the communication, and as he waits for it to return, he goes. He feeds the cat that lives in the back of the alley and gives it a couple of scratches on the back of the ear. Um, he looks over old records. He's poring over old documents. There are old pictures of the first attempted rebellion where Gold first met Denise, and there are pictures of Gold and Denise and other people from that time. These might be some of the only pictures of that group that exist still. The Sun Courts did a very good job stomping them out. Um, and there's just this moment of reflection, and as he sits and he sips a very very strong kind of like almost like a tea concentrate. Um, it glows a little bit like there's some aether in it, and as he takes it, he takes a swig of it and he rubs that connection where his machinery meets his flesh, and he just sighs, saying, "There's things you give up chasing dreams." hopefully this time it's worth it. And as a group, you guys meet back up at the bar. And Gold just looks at all of you. Last chance. He looks kind of a little bit more, not like pointedly, but like with the acknowledgement that it is okay for Jade to back out if she's uncomfortable.
Jade doesn't say anything, but kind of like makes a show of like adjusting her gloves to be like, and kind of stretches in the way that was probably way cooler than any super spy thing that she was trying to do.
Yeah.
But because that's a thing that she actually needs to do to work with tools instead of
Right.
whatever.
So it's an actually fluid stretching motion.
Yeah.
Instead of the you can't see us. Right. So yeah, and
Yeah.
he nods and he pats Jade on the shoulder with his fleshy hand, not the metal hand, as he says, "Well, then follow me. We have a group of radicals to meet with. Were you able to get any of those blueprints copied before?"
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You don't have them all with you, do you?
Nope.
Good girl. All right. So in that case, all right, lads, lassies, and others, let's go ahead and get this party started. As he moves, and for those of you that would, well, you've all seen Gold extensively at this point. As he moves, it's almost like he's a little bit more spry. His leg isn't seeming to bothering him as much. His joints seem to be moving a little bit easier as he just kind of like leads you guys on down, and he leads you actually down to the basement of the bar. This is also, again, remember, where Charles ate it. So he continues and he leads you guys out through the back door, where he has a car waiting for you guys. All right. So he looks over at Max. You ever want to enter the derby down in the Rust Rivers, the demolition derby down in the Rust Rivers?
I thought about it.
You want to drive?
And she hops in the front seat and looks down at the two pedals and
3 pedals.
just
3
pedals.
It's a manual.
Slams on one of them. It does not move anywhere because she
Right.
just slammed on the brake. She does not know how to drive. But she eventually figures out, the car just like lurches forward, and then she figures out how to get it going.
The entire time, the entire time, I'm imagining that Gold is actually right behind in the back seat behind the driver's seat, and he's kind of like bent around, pointing and like explaining to her, well, no, when you pop the clutch, you need to be careful. You can't pop it too hard, or you're going to stall it out. As Mox pops the clutch a little bit too hard, and the engine just stalls for a second. Jade just wincing in pain for the poor machine. And during this halting, jerky back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, I think that this is, let me get confirmation of something real quick. This is where we're going to go ahead and take our break. We will be seeing the rest of you back in just a little bit. So until then, enjoy the break. And we're back. I hope everyone else had a good break. So, I think that as we approach as a group to the Demolition Derby site, I think there's just the sound of cheering of a bunch of young adults who are very disgruntled with the system and the sound of cars just being demolished. As we continue in, the Gold kind of directs Mox where to kind of pull in for registration. And as he goes through the process, he makes a couple of he says a couple of things that, just as he goes through the registration process, where we're told to go to a specific stall for to get everything finalized. And I think from there is where we're going to go ahead and meet Avira, who is the definition of step on me, mommy. She is tall, Amazonian, little bit scarred, but in a very sexy way. Just leather pants, big boots, and sees us pull in. And as Gold steps out, Vera, aren't you just right across the face?
I think Mox just like falls out of the car and is just like, "Hi, I'm Mox."
Jade leans over to Gold and goes, "Close, are you?"
I deserve that quite a bit, actually.
I immediately go to tend to Gold to see if like anything, if he lost any teeth, like to gauge the damage.
There's no teeth, but you see that his cyborg eye is still kind of rolling a little bit. He reaches a finger up and just he pinches around the socket to get it from stop spinning. As he goes, "Oh, that's the vertigo. You wouldn't believe the vertigo when that eye won't stop moving." Oh. And Avir just looks down at Moxie as she takes the hand, charmed, as she bends down and kisses the back of Mox's hand.
I'm gonna be driving this thing.
Oh, really? You're entering in? She looks over at Gold with like this. What the fuck are you doing? Like, you've done demolition derbies before.
There's first time for everything.
Really? Looks back down. Gold's like, the lass has always wanted to enjoy the lass enjoys the feeling of bending and twisting my middle. Who am I to prevent them from taking that? And he just gets pinned with this look.
I think Melly finishes maybe a little car sickness puke. I think that the jauntiness is not necessarily good for them. But finish wiping off looking presentable. There's a beautiful woman present, and they're like, "Hi, ma'am, Melly. Lovely to meet you. Amazing. Don't worry, Mox is real good at demolition."
I see. Well, the rules state there need to be 2 drivers, just to be on the safe side. Who is your second driver going to be?
I think Melly's my second driver.
Ooh. Yeah.
You are. This is going to be so much fun. This will be so very, very much fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. And she just that. Yeah, it really is. So you guys need to get ready. You guys are doing the pit in 10 minutes. She looks over to Denise. I've heard of you, but we haven't had a chance to meet yet.
Oh, yes. Nice to meet you. My name is Denise.
Pleasure to meet you, Denise. I hear that you and Gold were friends of my mother. As she
Yes.
says this, Denise, you would kind of recognize certain features from the woman who kind of originally organized that first group of revolutionaries from the failed revolution. And she takes your hand in a very soft manner and kind of cups it with her other one. It is such an honor to meet you. And my mother had the best stories of what a good person you are and how much heart you had for not only the people of that organization, but also everyone you were trying to help. And I could really use your help.
I would love to help in anything that you need.
She steps over Gold, who is just now still starting to kind of finally get himself
Yeah,
leaning up against the
and I
car.
think that Denise is definitely she's definitely blushing a little bit at this giant leather clad woman just being so warm. She's having a tough time keeping it together, honestly. Uh,
And she kind of leads, and she looks over at Jade, and she's like, "And you're the smart one, aren't you?"
Jade sort of nods her head as if in acknowledgement of her presence, and sort of until that point, Jade was kind of like petting the car because she's like, "Oh, you poor
baby.
thing."
Poor
Yeah,
baby.
it's just like like one might a cat, and then upon being addressed, sort of stands up straight from where she was leaning against the car and says, "Well, depends on what you consider smart, I suppose."
Rephrase. You're the one with the mechanical know-how. I can.
Yes.
She points towards your the kinds of calluses you would have on your fingers, and just that little bit of grease, that little bit of engineers of lubricant on your face that you just can't quite get off. And I love an individual who is good with their hands and knows how to spin a wrench. I think that you would be a fantastic aid for something that I need assistance with. She looks down at Gold, and he just gives her just this rakish grin of like, I know what I am. I know what I am. The answer to that is a motherfucker. Am I the bastard? Yes, I am the bastard. 100%. As she offers both, she offers Porna her other arm as she leads Denise and Porna away. Um, Gold finally getting himself up on his feet, looking over at Melly and Mox. So, I have 15 minutes to teach you kids how to win a demolition derby. Who's ready for a crash course?
Pun not intended.
Oh, I'm great at
Wind.
crashing, so
Yeah.
I think I got it.
The goal. Remember, the goal is not to crash your car; it's to crash the other people's car.
Yeah, the old last minute fake out. Don't
The old
worry,
last
I've
minute-
done that a couple times. Got a suspended license, but I don't think it matters.
Here, it is a requirement. Actually, one thing to keep in mind: the longer you guys are in the ring, the longer Vera will keep talking to us. And I happened to have put a bit of money down on you guys. I am more than happy to share my winnings if you guys are able to increase my bet at all.
You don't have to back or anything if you lose, right? Though we don't.
No, you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay fees.
Okay, just making sure.
No.
Do our best,
Besides, you guys still have tabs to work off.
Yeah, we owe you plenty.
Anyways, so okay, just remember, Melly, keep your eyes everywhere. Mox, focus on what's in front of you. Don't hit things head on. Try to hit them on the side to send them spinning out. If you're going to get hit and you're going to get hit, don't freeze up. Don't get tense. Keep your bodies loose. It's like taking a punch. Roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
Go rain havoc. He says as he claps both of you on the shoulder. Melly, you get the heavier metallic thud of his arm. You're right. That's
I'm
my
good.
kids.
I'm tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah. As he starts following back, and I think that the box that Avira leads Denise and Jade to has this just giant glass overview of just this ring of metallic carnage. And there are comfortable seats. There is some snacks laid out on the table. There's some drinks. This is obviously the backdrop and the view is of the ring. This is a place for meetings. This is a place to talk business. And you guys get settled, you get drinks, and Gold joins not that long after you guys. And as he closes the door behind, he looks over and smiles at a lot of you. Now then, I believe that we are to wait until the festivities start before we start talking business. Averia nods, just motioning around. The sounds of the demolition derby do havoc on any sort of recording or listening devices that might or might not be on people's persons or planted on individuals. So, until then, Gold, where's my money that you stole from me? And Gold has this shocked and appalled look. Averia, I never stole from you. That money was mine by right. And Averia just gives him this look. And he just shrugs, pulls out a bag of coins, and drops it on the table. It's all there. As she bends over and starts counting it and gives him this look of like, yeah, I trust you. Sure, whatever you say, as she begins counting out the coins. What is something about this room that catches Denise's attention?
Oh, but the meeting room.
What is something about the meeting room that catches your attention?
say, okay, so this is a place for business, for meetings. I think I think there may be like, how do I put this? Like a lot of photos on the wall or some things to like remember past contestants in the derby, maybe people who won or people who lost their lives in the derby. And
It's a memorial wall.
yeah, it's like a memorial wall in the meeting, in the meeting room, and I think that catches her attention for a little bit, just like coming to a realization of what the wall is, what it represents.
I like that. I like it a lot. I like the idea that maybe sprinkled in for those pictures might be actual members of Icarus or members of the original revolution.
Yeah,
So that could be part of what also might catch Shanice's attention is there's people that she knows up on that wall.
yeah, definitely.
How about Jade? What is something about this room that catches Jade's attention?
I think the room is kind of circular, but
Okay.
still with some corners.
Okay.
So the attempt was to make it kind of dome, but still there are corners, and the corners have those kind of vaulted bits, which essentially mean that if people are trying to whisper in corners, they kind of have to make sure that there is no one in the diagonal corner because they can hear each other.
Acoustics. Yeah.
I think there's comfortable seating, to be sure, because there's supposed to be meetings and like tiny tables that can only hold the fanciest of um, cocktails. But the chairs look kind of worn because obviously, like, it's not a particularly well off place, but like it's earned its stories. And I think the thing that catches Jade's eye is there's one sort of right next to the wall that Denise is looking at, but Jade doesn't notice the pictures of people. Uh, there is a there's a like a pair of high-backed chairs facing one another, and they have kind of stage lighting on them. And there's a plaque on the table between them, but you can't see it from across the room. You'd have to go there and read it. And when Jade goes to read it, the words change depending on where you're standing. So if you're standing on the right or the left, there's a different political message you can see from the two sides of the Great War.
It's two arguments.
Mm.
That's cool. That's really cool. I dig it. So here's how we're going to play out kind of uh, the demolition aspect of this, I think for it is going to be Melly and Mox against the deck. One thing to keep in mind about your playbooks is there are ways for you to gain cards, manipulate cards, draw cards, which are going to be very important for this. And they're, again, remember, they're a little bit vague for a reason. So anytime you can kind of finagle something into a semi-decent argument on how to maneuver into that, feel free to use whatever ability you want. And just as a refresher, draw is drawing the card from the top of the deck, cycling is drawing and discarding a card, trading is exchanging a card with another person, giving is giving a card, discarding is tossing a card into the discard pile. So I think that to go ahead and get everything started, as everyone kind of gets settled in up in the office, what is going on down in the pit as Mox and Melly are getting ready to go in and get introduced into the pit?
I think Mox is actually going to yell up at the box up there and just be like, "Hey, Avira, make sure you bet on me, will ya? I promise you won't regret it."
I think Avira might be looking down the window, and she just waves and wiggles her fingers down at you guys.
I think let's see, Melly does some stretches, little neck, arms behind the head, all that, and then they probably get set up, I guess, in the passenger seat. I don't know where the second driver usually goes. Maybe I want to be in the back seat so I can really keep a full 360. Yeah, back seat.
Gotta be on the back so you can throw out the green shells.
Yeah, I gotta throw out the green shells. I gotta send out the bullet bills.
Yep. So, the car is put into position, and go ahead and play your first cards.
Yeah.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
So,
okay.
Mox is gonna floor it.
Right.
Can I try and trump?
So yes, you can attempt to trump. Remember, so what happens when the 7 of spades is still going to happen, but the narrative control is up for grabs. So if you have a way to trump with the 7, if you have a way to trump a spade,
I do.
So now both the 7 and the ace of spades are going to happen. Mox does have narrative control, though.
And so can I count this as take it? Oh no, that's thinking about the situation rather than jumping in. I'm not doing that. I'm jumping in.
You're jumping straight into it. I love it. Give me 1 second to pull up the spades table because for some reason I did not have that up. Give me just 1 moment. Here we go. So for the 7, oh no, this is not good. We've actually had the 7 of spades before.
Yeah, I
know. So I'm going to be kind and not have the injured animal limp into the track. I'm going to have it be an injured bird that comes and rests on the side of the dome where we're in up top. I'm not going to have an injured animal enter the demolition field. That would be bad.
Ellie was about to roll right out that window.
Correct. Correct. But no, so I think that there is an injured bird that right by where the window is, kind of sets up, and you can tell that it has an injured wing with how it keeps trying to adjust it to rest comfortably. For Jade, Denise, and Gold to see when we get to what we're getting ready to do. Meanwhile, Ace of Spades. There is, and this happens everywhere, there is a loud rumbling crash that is heard as a nearby building, one that is further down, starts to crumble under its own weight and collapse inward on itself, sending a cloud of dust pouring into the demolition pit.
All right. So I think that Mox is going to use that distraction. She is going to drive through the dust of this collapsing building, and I think like it's. I think you hear like the thuds of like it's a nearby one. It's like you hear it weighing on the edge of this arena as well. And Mox is going to just drive through the cloud and then turn out the other side and ram into someone. And she is just like, you know, doesn't need to, once she's shifted into gear, not shifting anymore, just pushing the pedal down further. And so is, I think, just such a wild sort of anti-driving. Almost like it's driving in a way that you're not supposed to, so no one knows how to adapt to this because it's wrong entirely.
Right. It's the perfect X factor. No one knows how to counter what's going on. There's just this maniac in this beat up old jalopy down in the pit, just not breaking the rules, but not like obeying the prescribed practices either. So yeah, I love the idea that just Mox's lack of understanding is what allows them to excel in this.
Like an amateur fencer beating a master fencer. Ooh, Mox, turn the brights on and start doing donuts.
Absolutely. And I feel like also when she does that, she doesn't know exactly like how this is supposed to work. So I think she ends up the brights are just aether powered.
Oh yeah.
So it ends up, I think, she turns the brights on as she like rams someone and it causes a spark.
Oh no.
And so the front of the car is just a little bit on fire, kind of.
Just a little on fire.
It's probably good. We're probably fine.
You're winning. So I think while that's happening up in the up in the box, again, there's this bird that is coming, kind of just like it's hobbling a little bit on the edge, and before Gold interacts with it, does Denise or Jade want to interact with the bird at all?
There's just a bird in the window.
There's an injured bird that is taking refuge on the railing.
Oh, yeah. I think she's gonna come to it. I don't think she's super knowledgeable about like animals anatomy. Like she's
Yeah.
a human doctor, a human nurse. But I think immediately, like, she immediately feels for this little injured creature. So I think she's gonna try to come to it and see if she can do anything to it to help it.
And I think as Denise pulls the bird inside is when the building crumbles. So
Just holding the bird.
So I have narrative control. Can I say that there's like a small like carrier pigeon tube tied to its leg?
100% you can. 100% you can. Go for it. What's in the tube?
I think that as you there's like a little one of those sort of waterproof capsules that you can unscrew the lid of, and inside there is a note that's from one of Mox's contacts that she had put out feelers earlier, and it does say that there's some people asking around about who broke into the locker at the station, because the attendants there, the sort of uh, train cops, as it were, can see now that it's like the lock is on the interior lock is broken because of how Jade opened it. So people are asking questions about that.
Jade says aloud that, like, to Denise, looks at Denise and goes, why did they open the outer lock in the first place? We had the key to that one.
Yeah, that is suspicious. Because
Maybe
I think we did try to lock again the locker before leaving, right?
the outer lock, yeah. The inner lock was in pieces, but the outer lock, yeah, we locked it.
Yeah, so maybe
Possibly someone else had a key to it. The
Yeah.
original buyer. Gold says as he looks to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
I
means
guess
somebody has not only pieced together in the past 24 hours, someone has gone to the locker to retrieve something, to retrieve potentially the thing that they were expecting
Right.
Headless McGee to have put there. And then they also have had the time to go there, discover that it's not there, that potentially someone who didn't have the second key broke in, and track down the people who they think did it. So either the guard saw us.
So quick clarification, Orna. The letter from Mox's people, so that people are just asking questions about. They're not saying that you guys have been made, that we've been made,
right?
But people are asking questions about what happened and if anyone has seen anything. And because Mox pulled out those feelers, we now have information that we are on a clock now.
So
yeah.
So Charlotte knows that we had the key. One key.
Nicole Charlotte.
Sorry?
I said, Cole's like, well, it's time to kill Charlotte in an obviously joking manner. Like
Jade, Jade looks
joking.
at Gold. Jade looks at Gold like,
I'm not gonna harm
too soon, man.
I'm not gonna harm a child.
It's too soon.
I'm not gonna harm a kid. I have limits.
Yeah, I do agree with Jade. It was a little bit too soon.
I thought it was funny. Gold says as he just goes and sits down, a little bit mopey as he just pulls his string. I thought it was funny. And Avera looks over. You think everything you say is funny. Unfortunately, you're not quite as humorous as you think you are. Now then, as the destruction and everything runs rampant, to business.
Yes.
I hear that you have something that might interest me.
As Vera turns to Gold, Jade is like still staring, has looked back from glaring at Gold to looking at the building that collapsed, and sort of just still staring, looks at Denise, looks back at the building, goes, not to like, change the subject or anything, but does that happen a lot? Or
It happens every once in a while. We don't have the money for supporting the kind of infrastructure that the Sun Courts built here and then abandoned.
right.
None of these buildings were built exceptionally well. I can't tell you how much money I had to pour into this center to keep it from falling apart. The reason why there was originally, she points towards the open ceiling of the dome. There was originally a roof on that. I had to tear that down so that it wouldn't collapse on people.
It's very forward thinking of you, I think.
But no, no one lives in any of the buildings near here. We keep patrol cleans of squatters, especially the ones that are threatening to collapse. We were expecting that one to go down any day now. We weakened it so that it would fall inwards on itself when it finally decided to go.
Right.
I'm not shocked that it went now.
Yeah, because Jade is like looking around and like nobody except for her and Denise in the room have reacted to an entire building like crumbling.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well,
When you live down in the rivers, you have to make plans for these kinds of things because we can't support what the Sun Courts built down here.
yeah, Jade is making mental notes and calculations about like how to contribute to the structural integrity of whatever gets built next. But anyway.
Right. Math. But no, she turns from Gold, who is currently being ignored again, to Jade. He wouldn't keep those on him because he knows that I would just take them from him. I wouldn't take them from you. May I see what you have to offer me?
Certainly. And Jade takes part of a blueprint out of her bag and hands it over to be like,
what is it a part of a blueprint of? Is it of a bomb? Is it of a firearm? Is it of a generator that blocks aether fire? What is it of?
I think so. The part of the blueprint that Jade is handing over isn't actually any of the schematics. It's the legend in the corner of the blueprint that has the insignia of the Sun Courts and has sort of describes parts which suggest that it is sort of like a cannon that it looks like the miniature next to the parts looks like it's a cannon, but on the other hand there seem to be a lot of mirrors around it. Isn't it?
And she looks at it, looks to Gold, pointedly looks back to Denise, not to Gold. What do you guys want in exchange for the access to these blueprints? To Denise.
Well, I think we were hoping to get a meeting with the and she kind of like looks around uh for some reason with some of the members of Icarus.
Well, she says as she leans back, and for the first time, for Denise and Jade, as she leans back and kind of spreads her arms a little bit, you can see that with how she's shifted herself and with the mural behind her, she is now taking the place of Icarus falling with this with the sun motif behind her. You have Icarus's attention. So again, as Icarus, what can we offer you?
Well, first and foremost, I know that it is probably not the habit of people who look as fabulous as you do sitting on a chair to share plans with people you have just met. However, I expect you might be all right with promising that civilians don't lose more than they already have through whatever it is.
She looks at you, and for the first time, not for the first time, she looks towards Gold, but not with like the dismissive ambivalence to his existence. But there's a moment of tenderness in her look. She's super looking back over to you, and she says, "The Sun Courts have taken enough. Icarus's goal is not to take, but it is to give the ability back to the people to govern and lead themselves. No one south of the cloud tops is going to lose a damn thing if I have my way with it."
And how sure are you that you're going to have your way with it?
She looks towards the massive group of cheering people, and as she looks down at them, she kind of motions for you to join her.
Jade does so with some trepidation.
Yeah, same.
As you guys look down, you're kind of able to see that the entire layout of the pit and the surrounding bleachers is the Icarus symbol.
Wow.
I think I'm pretty sure about it. No offense meant to you, Denise, but back in my mother's day, and she looks towards Golden this time again, without malice, she says there were too many soldiers involved in what you were trying to do. They were treating it as a war, not a revolution.
Yeah.
And Gold, just kind of sitting back, nods his head in agreement with that. Because the trick of it is, most of the soldiers, the ones who she looks towards Gold, who didn't wind up below the walls, most of them were snapped up by the Sun Courts to fill different roles for beating the populace into submission if they didn't want to listen. Now, you do need old soldiers to fight some of those soldiers. Don't get me wrong. But that's not what's going to cause the change to happen, and that's not what's going to protect the other people. She nods her head towards down. That is my army. Every single one of them ready to march themselves up to the Sun Courts once we create a path for them to do so. And that's all we have to do is make the path.
Jade walks back towards Gold and sort of stands equidistant between the two of them and goes, I'm here. This should tell you that I am willing to help with this, but you are not the only one, Avira, if I may call you this. You are not the only one to have family or people who came before you in your family that saw what destruction can be wrought. The people you see here, me, Denise, Mischief and Mayhem playing up in the derby over there, we didn't just pop out of nowhere. We have stories that we came from, and your intentions can be as pure as sunlight, but unless you have a plan that I can see on paper that says people below the cloud tops, there is a plan to protect them. I'm just going to leave you with something that my grandfather used to say before he was taken from us by the same kinds of fights that you were talking about, that they're called revolutions for a reason. They come and they go. Please tell me that you know what you're doing.
And she looks you dead in the eye. She leans forward. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I can tell you exactly how I'm going to stop anything from going south of the cloud tops.
Jade is actually shivering, but with nerves, because I don't think outside of this entire endeavor where someone's gotten beheaded, someone's watched her undo a thing in the locker, I don't think she's spoken these many words to any people consecutively in the past year. So she's looking very nervous and she's shaking, but she sort of crosses her arms to try and control the shaking and goes, tell me, I want to hear it. How are you going to protect them?
Before we do that, Melly, Mox, play your cards.
Play more cards?
Yeah, play your cards. There's multiple rounds going into this.
Whew.
All right.
One, two, three. Perfect. Great job for Melly.
I was relying on Melly for that one.
So how does Melly use their intelligence and wit to maintain this?
So this is a funny thing. I actually took at the end of last session the stabilization where I can use the aces of hearts and diamonds to trump physical plays. So how
Nice.
I'm imagining narrative control shifts is, maybe we're getting to the end of what like Mox, driving non-traditionally can do, in
Yeah,
terms of
that's
journey.
fair.
And
That only
Melly
lasts so long.
kind of leans over and like grabs the wheel and starts directing with some strategic side swipes.
I like that idea. I like
Mhm.
that idea. So I will say this. I think that, and we're going to leave you guys with that as we pop back over to the continued carnage down below to the plans going on up above as Jade, would you like a little bit of support? You are obviously nervous. Would you like a little bit of support from Gold?
Oh, out of game, you mean?
Yes.
Sure.
Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trade cards real quick. So go ahead and select one card that you want to trade with me, and I will give you one in return. Do not flip it over. No one else has to see what we're trading. So
Okay.
this is the one that I am putting up.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then I will take that one. That works. As you know, as much as you're saying, as Gold just kind of stands behind you and puts this reassuring hand on Jade's shoulder, not taking her moment from her, but making her know that he is proud of her being so firm in her beliefs, especially with everything that's going on. And it's just that very light touch, a light squeeze, just that just that you are supported no matter what happens. You have his support. As again, I don't have the brilliance that is Avira, as she lays out the plan that is basically it's a funneling plan because based off of where the residential districts are between the Cloud Top, between Forger's Alley, and the Rust Rivers, and ways to plan and execute the attacks where those attacks and things that are going to be happening, the destructions to the walls, are going to be in positions that are away from those residential districts. The progression of the kind of leapfrogging from section to section is also going to be including leaving large contingents of individuals who are properly armed to repel the Sun Courts behind as they go forward. So by the time they actually reach the Sun Courts themselves, at that point it really is mostly the more diehard revolutionaries, with the people who have actual war experience, the older individuals, people like Gold, are the ones who are being left to defend, the ones who know what they're doing.
Jade will say, from what I can see of the plans, I think the weapon works trying to use light against the Sun Courts, which may seem poetic, but if it is angled at the cloud tops and below, it's going to cause some serious damage. So I have friends in Forger's Alley, and I think we can fashion. We should be able to fashion some kind of scaled armor in domes over the cloud tops. If you will lend me some manpower, I think we can do it. I think we can have an additional layer of protection.
So I am going to have you play a card against this. Gold is backing you up. So
Mhm.
Gold is going to be playing a card as well that he will only play if things go against you.
Okay. Would you mind reminding me the suits?
Sure, of course. Hearts are for emotional plays. Diamonds are for intellectual plays. Clubs are for presence, and again, that's basically anything that has to do with your force of will. Your physical is a big part of that, but it's not like physically doing something, just being imposing or standing defiant. Is kind of the big thing for clubs with that. Spades is fate, which can net you narrative control, but something happens off of the fate table if you do that.
Got it.
There's one for gold, and 1, 2, 3. And that is when gold is going to kick in because the 4 would have trumped you with that. So gold, and I'm actually going to give you narrative control still. Once I have what happens for that spade play out, I'm giving you narrative control. One thing to keep in mind as you play, you can always give narrative control to someone else. If you have it currently, you can hot potato it over to someone else.
Okay.
So there are 2 things that happen with this because for the second time we have dual spades. For the 4, ooh, that's a good one. Sirens start going off, filling the air with loud blare as a threat looms overhead. I think that the Sun Courts have found out about Icarus. Despite all of the planning, despite all of the things, all of the secrecy, everything trying to play out, they have found out about Icarus. And they have sent an airship down to wipe them out in one go. There is also, because of the Queen of Spades, there's loud cursing and banging can be heard nearby, followed by a loud pop. I think that to match with this, there is an assault being sent to this room to try and take out Avira. And we are hearing that happen. So with that happening, Gold flips his hand as you guys see that razor thin blue line of aether fold out of his arm as he just kind of assumes kind of a defensive position by the door. And I'm going to give that narrative control back to you, Porna.
Okay.
As you guys hear these, as the sirens are blaring, as these calls are coming down for people to disperse immediately from the Sun Courts.
Okay. If anyone has an idea of like how things should go, and I'm not going in that way, just like wave and I will stop talking and head over to control. But so okay, so where is Avira in the room?
So currently, I think that, well, you actually get to place her. So where do you think Avira is in the room currently? Do you think that she's looking up, or do you think that she's like gathering her stuff together, trying to get out of there? Do you think she's pulling out a firearm to start fighting people? What do you think she's doing?
Well, I think that part of the whole leather deal is that she can, so because she's sitting where she is, she can pull her legs up, and essentially if she does this, kind of cocoon herself in the leather to form kind of almost a shield around herself, that would take the blow of anything that could harm her in that particular position that she could do anything about. I think she also taps her feet in a particular pattern that that tells the guards that we didn't realize were around in the same room that were her guard, to that tells them what formation she wants them to take. So they flank her, and I think it's not a particularly fancy guard, obviously, but it is people who look like they have been through the mill, and so there's like big beefy people and like tall, short, partly cyberneticized, all kinds of things. And so there's about 4 people around her, ready to circumvent any violent action taken against her. And they also have some form of shielding that creates even more barriers around her. I think there's shouting. I think the shouting is more sort of you hear we hear people coming towards this center, but the shouting is not in the building. So it's sort of like people marching along the periphery with great purpose, sort of like there, and they sound like angry and as if they're marching with purpose, but we can't really hear what they're saying. And there is, like, again, the sound of people, just people who are not as important in the ranks of this of Avera's army, but like still have realized what is about to happen. And so the sounds of consternation, people reacting to a situation, and them kind of pouring in to try and stop this this march of entitled Sun Court garb clad people marching towards Avera. And so, and I think Jade and Denise, you can like correct me if I'm wrong, would like kind of intuitively move towards Gold to be like,
What do we do?
Yeah, what do we do?
like,
So-
I was supposed to use a pencil and write on paper. This is what you said I have to do. What am I supposed to do? Huh?
You're supposed to stay behind me and let me take care of it.
Okay, it will take a second for me to stop shouting.
That's
And then,
fine.
like, Jade kind of like cows on the floor behind where Gold was sitting.
So Gold, with purpose, starts walking towards this individual, walking towards the sound of the combat, because I think, kind of playing off of what Porn is saying, there is a difference between an organized force attempting to breach a location and a disorganized guard trying to defend it. I think that the Sun Guard are getting into this building. I don't think there's a stopping of that. I don't think that we have the ability to stop that from happening. Gold looks back to Jade and Denise as he hopes that Melly and Max will be smart enough to kind of get to a location where they could collect everyone and get the fuck out. And I'm willing to play against this army. Play a card against the army for Gold to be able to cut a path for them to be able to get where they need to get for a pickup. So I am willing to play a card if someone wants to play off the top of the deck for me.
I got it.
Thank you. All right. 1, 2, 3. So I am trumping with an 8 because I am an 8, and I can do that against any card, especially spades. When I have 2 of those in my hand currently, because of the guarding I've been doing recently, I've been able to draw cards, and because of the modification I made to the last game, I can draw from the discard pile, which happened to have 2 8s in it For anyone who was watching the table and was wondering why I was pulling 8s from the discard pile, I can do that because I was doing the 8 Guardy thing and was able to pull the Guardy thing out from there. So I can do that, but if I do that, I have to discard a card, and I am going to discard a spade, the Jack of Spades, because we've had enough fucking spades. And I think that the reason why Gold took that Aether Tea blend earlier today, knowing it is dangerous for his physical body, was it because it allowed him to have control over his body he hadn't had since he was entirely human. And like a dancer through the motions of just a ballroom, he cuts away, calling for Jade and Denise to follow. And I think that Avira seeing the opening tags along. Because again, she knows that Gold is a lot of things, but she also knows at the end of the day, Gold is trustworthy.
Yeah.
So he goes and cuts his way through. I think that Gold gets hurt in the process, though. There's just too many of them for him to get out unscathed. And I think that kind of as the Sun Guard realize who the threat is, they start focusing on Gold. And Gold stands kind of in between. He gets you guys down to the bay. And there's the car waiting for you guys. And he looks towards all of you. If anyone wants to try to play a card for narrative control, you're more than welcome to try.
You said there was a in the pit there was an airship overhead, right?
Correct. There's an airship overhead currently.
Can I play a card to try and gain narrative control of like what is happening in the pit?
So no, I will give you control of what's happening in the pit. I will give you control of what's happening in the pit.
I think that Mox is going to just turn to Melly and just be like, take the wheel. And Mox is gonna lean out the window and reach up front and try to just she's just gonna like pop off one of those currently sort of sparking and burning headlamps or
Headlights?
high beams
Yeah.
and headlights, and is just going to point it up at the airship and say, sort of like taunt and say, hey, follow me over here. And then just say, Melly, drive out of the building.
Oh yeah. Floor it.
So, in that case, with there no longer being an escape car for us, because they just stole the escape car, which I'm fine with. That makes what's about to happen all the harder for Jade and Denise.
Yeah.
And man, Melly and Max are going to have some trauma from this one also, because they could have been there to stop this from happening. Gold especially seeing Melly and Max drive away, knowing that there's really only way to be able to get Denise and Jade out. He looks to Denise specifically and says, you get her out of here. You keep them safe. You stop them from becoming me.
Yeah.
Okay?
I promise.
Thank you. Jade, you are a brilliant woman who is going to do fantastic. Don't shake your head. This is the way it has to be.
Why are you
You are
talking
going
like
to
a movie?
do.
No,
You are
no.
going. You are going to do such fantastic things, and you are going to make the city such a fucking beacon for everybody.
No, no. This is
Yes,
not.
you
This
need
is
to
not.
go. You
This is
need to
not part of the
go.
plan.
Yeah,
Please,
plans
no.
change.
No,
Look,
please.
it's time for you to go. You guys don't need me from here. He looks over to Avira, who's still been following along, and he just smiles to Avira, saying, I'm going to repay the debts that I owe your mother now. You need to help them. You guys have the information. You're going to have the people. You're going to be able to reorganize yourselves. It'll be fine. But you need to go now. He says as he puts just this fatherly hand on Jade's head and just puts his on top of hers for a second. Take her and go as he turns and just walks towards, and you see him pull out, hidden from someplace you've never seen, he pulls out a second Aether blade. And he just, the things you give up chasing a dream, as he just barrels straight into the crowd, as if need be, Avira is going to physically pull Jade away.
Denise, what did he just
He
do? Where are we?
he did what he had to do. This is I think this was the only way that we could have gotten out of here.
How? No, how can I be more important to stay alive than this main character energy person who is just sacrificing? Why are we doing this? No, Avira, say something.
You're the smart one. She says as she holds you close, like she's holding you close as she is physically carrying you away from this.
Oh, please. This is not part of the plan.
It never is when it comes to this. So, with 5 minutes left on the session, we're going to go ahead and develop our characters.
Damn.
Oh, come on. You all had to know that Gold was going to die at some point.
It's true.
Yeah.
Didn't expect it to be
You all
session
had to
2, though.
know.
That's true.
I will say this. I did see some tear ups that I said I was going to get. I got a little tear from everybody in that one, so I will count that as a win. Welcome to officially playing Neon Shadows, the game that makes you cry big, big tears. It's okay. It's supposed to hurt. That's why it feels good in the end. So, for development, I am going to, for our next session, I'm going to have a sheet built for Avira, who is going to be a type 1.
Okay.
So I will let you guys have a little bit of info on her before we start. For everyone else, you've done this once before. It's time to go again. How do you develop? As always, we're going to start with Skylar.
So Melly is stabilizing again this week. And I think I'm going to take the first option for stabilization for my playbook, which is type 1, the principled reformer, which is your changes novel. You have new ideas that others wish to hear and the patience to teach them to others, able to help them when they stumble. And I think that this is a change that maybe doesn't happen overnight in Melly. This happens in the weeks and months and years, maybe, from losing gold. I think Melly feels like they need to step up, you know, and they need to be the kind of person that will take on sacrifice for others.
The kind of person that will send a thunder through this entire city.
Yes. But also teach other people to send thunder through it. And be the one who does that thunder instead of people who shouldn't have to make that sacrifice.
Max. How does Max develop?
So with Mox, Mox is disrupting. And also is disrupting into the principled reformer. And let's see. I think that Mox is going to let's see. Mox is going to pick an item that tells a story from the principled reformer. And I think for her, it's going to be a hard expression made from the countless injustices you've seen. I think that her deciding to distract the airship that was coming in is sort of her idea. Of course, she doesn't know the consequences yet that is leading to, but it's sort of her idea of standing up for herself uh, and standing up for the other people in the stadium and getting gritty and gritting her teeth and sort of trying to do what's right instead of just what's maybe the most sensible thing.
Porna. How's Jade?
Jade's questioning some life decisions, I'll tell you. So I'm trying to find where it says, because it says I can borrow. What I wanted to do was borrow from, oh my god. Okay, well that Chrome just crashed. Cool.
Oh, no.
Hang on. Maybe if Denise can go first.
We can have Ivan
Well-
go first. Ivan, how does
Yeah.
Denise develop?
I'm gonna go with stabilization for this because she does ended with hard cards in her hand. I didn't really play any cards. But with that, I think I'm gonna pick something that says you have started to see yourself the way the group sees you. You trust yourself enough to reassure yourself that you belong and draw a card when you do. And I think that was motivated by probably also by meeting what's her name? Evira?
Vera, yeah.
By meeting Evira and also by witnessing Gold's sacrifice, I think that she feels a bit more reassured that she needs to stay with this group and try to protect them as best he can and kind of deal with the hard decisions that come with all these with all this revolution that we are planning. Uh, so yeah, I don't know if I need to draw a card right now or next
So
session.
you wouldn't draw the card right now, but it's something for you to have going forward on your. That's an ability
Okay.
for you. Yeah. Excuse me. Porna.
Um, so I think I will choose disruption. And oh no, wait. I don't think I can. But also for some reason it's not letting me load. The passionate protector is type 6? No,
No, type 8.
type 8.
Yes, that's what gold is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the yeah. So I think that's what. So I can pick an item that tells a story from the passionate protector, and that is what I will do if it will just let me click on anything. I don't know why Chrome is being weird. Okay, sorry.
Second, let me share my screen with you real quick. And here's a little behind the curtain things for everyone who's watching, because we haven't had the ability to really show this off yet for this point. So you should now be able to see my screen. And it is any of the choose with here or the pick 3 here. So it's any of these first 10 or these second 10.
Got it. Um, I think I will pick rank insignia, and I think I will pick it. So I think Jade would have picked the insignia that Gold wore and sort of pin it somewhere upon her person anytime she's going into a situation that feels like a battle. And would be like, I think would use it. I think as anyone who was born in Forger's Alley and has grown up in Forger's Alley, I don't think she's a stranger to loss or grief, but I think that having someone who was attempting to mentor you sacrifice themselves so that you could live, it's the kind of thing that kind of stays with you, especially when Forger's Alley people don't have access to basic healthcare or therapy. So I think, yeah, I think Jade is going to keep the insignia pinned.
Can I put a slight idea into your head for that?
Sure.
I think that it's not just one that was Gold's. I think it was something that she might have found at Gold's bar that was Gold's.
Sure. So you don't think it was the insignia?
No, I think it was the insignia. I don't think it was one that was like his insignia. I think it was his ranking insignia.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
what I meant. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that is it. All right. So I have a couple last little things to say real quick. And then just a reminder, you'll be able to catch us again for our last episode next week, where we will see how everyone recovers from the death of Gold and how the actual plan moves forward from there. So, but before we go, our one shot for Yilfei, an urban fantasy horror adventure, is now on the 18th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, continues Masks the Puzzle Project. The Nightmare Before Halloween game is open and active. Get your submissions ready. You can find more details on itch.io. Nerds with Dice is currently looking for help. We're seeking producers to help us bring more shows to for more amazing storytellers. And we are also looking to add more chancellors to help us manage the channel as it grows. If you have a story you wish to tell or a game you wish to showcase, our Creators app is always open and can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky, or ask for the link in our Discord. And we are going to be rating the initiative order. And with that, one last time, especially for Neon Shadows, please go support the Kickstarter if you feel like it. We would really, really appreciate it. We are hopefully going to hit over that halfway point soon. Excuse me. And with that, everyone, have a great week, okay?